So it's been how long since I've last uploaded? Yeah, I've done a lot of stuff in between. I've been to Japan actually. I've seen a lot of Vtubers stuff. I've seen a lot of. I went to Wrestle Kingdom. Wrestle Kingdom was quite fun, and yeah, that's. I've seen a lot of scenery, but that's not important. Vtubers and wrestling. What? Those are the two things that I currently enjoy the most, apart from TTRPG. But I've recently had my third eye open. I stumble upon a conspiracy. As the great Guy Geek Arizona has said, VTubers are just wrestling with waifus. It's not that strange. Hell, even Marseille from Maximum Male Model, my favourite team in wrestling by the way, alongside Pretty Deadly and the Great Okan, and also the Wingmen, he is also known as Jibo the VTuber. If you think about it logically, both are basically niche genre of entertainment that have a boom of popularity a while ago, and though not as prevalent now, they have still cemented themselves as cultural cornerstones.
Hey, you. You're finally awake. You were trying to cross the border, right?
That is something you would say if you had fallen for the trap. It's not too late, and my third eye is open. I can see it through. Wrestling and VTubers are the same thing. Well, do you know what that means? You can still stop it. You can still stop it. All you have to do is...
While VTubers might feel like it's been here forever, it's actually relatively infant in the cultural world. Regardless of its origins, VTubers have arguably boomed somewhat in the 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic, with Hololive leading charge, a cultural phenomenon that has swept over the isolated viewers at home. Alongside our Niji-Sanji, V-Shoujo and many other companies. The main reason for their popularity can be attributed to the colourful and variety of the streamers. As the name suggests, the streamer often streams. The audience get to know them intimately, and more importantly, look forward to seeing them interact with each other. In Hololive, all this leads to an annual event called Hololive Fest, where the streamers perform in front of a large audience in a cumulative of sorts of the year-long experience they provide. No rest for the wicked though. After the fest is a rebuild, where the VTubers continue the story in this endless tale. Outside of the big corporations are what are known as the indies. Often these have a smaller but more intimate audience. Some of them eventually get scouted into big corporations, while others are happy to remain in the indies. Moving to a big corporation often requires switching personas. Some of them decide to retire old personalities in a big finale known as a graduation stream, while others suddenly disappear without a word. One final aspect about VTuber is their avatars, their persona. While some are simply exaggerations of their own selves, some portray characters with other occupations, animal characters, monsters, or even supernatural beings. No matter the avatar, much like normal streamers, the one you see on the stream is a performance that aims to entertain you. Wrestling has been here since the dawn of time as a form of recreational combat, but the form of entertainment that we know today known as professional wrestling that leads back to the carnival acts in the 19th century. Wrestling has arguably boomed in the 90s during a period called the Attitude Era, with WWE leading charge, a cultural phenomenon that swept over the impressionable youth, alongside WCW, ECW and many more other companies. The reason for their popularity can mainly be attributed to the colourful and varieties of the wrestlers. As the name suggests, the wrestlers often wrestle, with the audience getting to know their character intimately and more importantly, looking forward to them compete against each other. In WWE, this all leads to an annual event called WrestleMania, where the wrestlers perform in front of a large audience in a cumulative of sorts of the year-long feuds they've been providing. No rest for the wicked though, after the Mania is a rebuild, where the wrestlers continue the story in this endless tale. Outside of the big corporations are what are known as the indies. Often these have a smaller but more intimate audience. Some of them eventually get scouted into big corporations, while others are happy to remain in the indies. Moving to a big corporation sometimes requires switching gimmicks. Some of them might decide to retire the old gimmick in a big finale match, while others might just suddenly disappear without a word. The final aspect about wrestling is their gimmick, their persona. While some are simply exaggerations of themselves, others portrays characters with other occupations, animal characters, monsters, or even supernatural beings. But no matter the gimmick, the one you see wrestling is a performer that aims to entertain you. You see, they are the same thing. How dare you make me enjoy the same thing twice? I can see it through you. What are you doing to me? Jokes aside, it's interesting to see the overlap between these two activities that thematically can't be further apart, but yet they do. Yet wrestling is so much older, and perhaps you can predict how the VTuber scenes might evolve in the future through wrestling. Now I want to bring up a concept in the wrestling world: Kayfabe. Kayfabe is basically used nowadays as a word to describe the fact that what you see is a performance trying to portray itself as authentic. You know, the two people that are fighting are not actually trying to hurt each other, but they are portraying it as such. This extends from the moves they perform in the ring, to the characters they portray, to the storylines they are telling through the screen. All can be encompassed in this now infamous term. What's interesting to me is how wrestlers, fans and companies treat this topic. Back in the day, the art of the deal is to make sure that no one finds out that wrestling is a show and not a real combative sport. This extends from keeping the face, the good guys, and the heels, the bad guys, in separate buses, to outright threatening and assaulting journalists that dares to question the authenticity of the sport. But you can't keep a cracked pot sealed forever. With the advent of the internet, more and more people are becoming wise to the idea that the wrestling is scripted or fake. This leads to an era where wrestlers can act out of character in interviews and social media, no longer being forced to pretend that they are their on-screen character. You can maybe see where I'm going with this. It's not one-to-one, but wrestlers in some way started off being a streamer version of anime characters. But slowly as VTubers start streaming, their personalities begin to shine through, and stories become more about the streamers than the character they're portraying. So what's next? For the wrestling insiders, terms like work or shoot has become more commonplace whenever an insult is thrown out, to distinguish whether what they're saying is part of a planned storyline or actual personal grudges. But as time goes on, stuff like worked shoot is also becoming a thing, where storylines are made to make it feel like it's actually real. This usually comes with insults or references to the person behind the character, making it feel like what's actually happening is not part of the program. This blurring of the line is what I'm trying to highlight. Since everyone assumes what we're seeing are characters they're portraying, this allows wrestlers to play around with what we perceive. A good work shoot might, for example, make you think that a wrestler has decided to stop acting in the assigned roles of the story and go into business for himself, which might make it seem like real emotions are involved. I can see VTubers perhaps doing something similar, beginning to play around with the fact that they are a character as well as a person behind it. Perhaps blending the two somehow? I mean, I don't have the specific formula behind it, and if I do, I'll be doing it. Maybe be a real life streamer and a VTubers at the same time, with maybe wildly different personalities playing each role and never letting people know which one is the real you. Actually, kind of thinking about it, it's actually similar to what happened with Akai Hato and Hajima from Hololive, which is a whole other rabbit hole I'm not getting into. But basically that's the prototype of what I'm trying to explain here. I think VTubers can be more than playing a character or essentially streaming with an anime avatar. You can be more creative. Use the fact that you are an absurd form of entertainer to your advantage. Now, I'm not saying I know what it's like to be a good VTuber, but what I'm saying is I want to see this media progress because I love it so much. Anyway, I'm going to go back to prepare to watch the Holofest and WrestleMania in the upcoming futures, so maybe I'll hibernate for another 6 months. On the other hand, maybe not. Maybe I'll do something. Who knows? Anyway, I hope you liked this video. I didn't want to script it as much because I wanted it to be just raw thoughts coming straight from my head to my mouth. Let me know if you prefer the more scripted version or these kind of less scripted ideas. In the meantime, maybe I'll record some games video. I kind of want to do that. Yeah, maybe. Maybe eventually I have a schedule for uploading or something, but who knows.